Good afternoon, everybody. Case studies competition are very interesting, and it was a great opportunity for us to be able to take part in this business case competition. We are Team University of Mauritius, and I would like to present to you my friend Anvish, my teammates, Nushrat and Shamia. Well, today's case competition will be revolving around a company known as Gravity Payments, which is a credit processing company. And as such, what happened in the company was that its CEO, Mr. Dan Price, implemented a minimum wage requirement on the company, which included that every employee of the company would be entitled to a wage of $70,000 per year. So this case revolves around customer satisfaction. Firstly, it revolves around the employees, but what Mr. Dan Price failed to consider was that a company should focus on customer satisfaction, but it also has to take into consideration every stakeholder of the company. Well, our presentation will be dealing firstly on the impact on the current business environment of the company following the decision to impose a minimum wage. And well, afterwards my friends will be dealing with the recommendation. So firstly, when dealing with the impact of the minimum wage requirement, we have divided it into two parts. Firstly, the internal impact, and secondly, the external impact. So moving further, the internal impact of the decision of Mr. Dan is threefold. Firstly, on the employees of the company. Secondly, the management style of the company. And at last, the shareholders who are the owners of the company. So firstly, following the minimum wage imposition, not every employee of the company benefited from the policy. The employees who had a salary below $70,000 per year benefited from the minimum wage, but other employees, that is, the other 40 employees out of the 120 employees of the company who were earning more than the minimum wage, they were not satisfied. They were not satisfied because the beneficiaries of the minimum wage did so just because of the imposition decided by the manager. That is, they did not earn it per se. It was only the decision of the CEO to implement such decision. As such, the senior management of the company, who were earning more than $70,000, found that they were having a much more workload, and the other beneficiaries of the minimum wage, they were having much less workload for a much larger salary. As such, there was a need to compensate for this lack of satisfaction or for this dissatisfaction of the senior management. There was a need to motivate them in order to work for the benefit of the company, because they were doing much more work for relatively less salary as compared to the lower class employees. So there is a need to identify certain types of motivation which could motivate the senior management in order to work for the benefit of the company, which will be dealt with further in the recommendation. Secondly, following the announcement of the minimum wage, there was a change in management style, because at first Mr. Dan Price was focused solely on the company. As such, it was after that he decided to increase the salary and all. But following the announcement of the minimum wage, Mr. Price moved from an autocratic way of running the company to a more of a laissez-faire type of management. Why? Because he was already delegating some of his tasks to his management team, and he was focusing more on giving interviews, giving lectures, or focusing on his book deal. As such, there was a need for Mr. Price to start focusing on his company again in order to be able to promote growth, because he's the major person, he's the CEO of the company and everyone knows him as the founder. And thirdly, the shareholders of the company. As it can be seen in the case study, the firm was co-founded by Mr. Price and his brother Lucas Price. Mr. Dan had a 70% share of the company, and his brother had a 30%. So following the announcement of the minimum wage, Mr. Lucas sued his brother and requested that Dan buys out his Lucas's share. As such, this was a major cost to the company, and in a way the company lost quite a lot of funds. That depends on the share capital of the company. So further, I will leave the floor to my friend Anvish, who will talk about the external factors.
External factors, thank you. So in the external factors, we divided it into, we found that they were impacting on the customers first, and then on the competitors. Excuse me. In the where was I? Customers, yeah, in the sense that when there was an increase in the minimum wage, there was a cost that was needed to be recovered. Therefore, there was an increase in the price, which the customers did find it quite reluctant to pay to abide to this raise. And also, when we move on to the competitors, there's an increase on the excuse me, yeah, increase of pressure on competitors. Yeah, I think that's all. I'll leave the floor to the rest.
Thank you, Anvish. So we'll now lead you to the recommendation. The first recommendation that we come up is the HLD strategy. That is, Price need to implement a new human resource strategy. That is, he has to differentiate between the high-level management and the low-level employees. He cannot treat them as they have the same needs. As for example, if I'm working as a supervisor or even attending to machines, my basic needs, according to Maslow hierarchy of needs, it would be to finance my survival needs, such as food, shelter, and clothes. But as I move on, those needs are satisfied. My basic needs, my social needs, everything. But what I want more is, I would like to have more status, more recognition within the company. I want my work to be recognized. So that's how Price failed to achieve those needs. He has to recognize that those high-level management, they want recognition, they want more status, and they want more responsibility, so that they can feel themselves important in the company. Moreover, he should improve the employee relationship within the company. He can do that by organizing team-building activities and social events for the employees. By doing so, the employees will feel important in the company, and this will increase the loyalty of the employees towards the company. The third is the reward style. In case you produce more, your productivity is very high, so you keep the 70,000 compensation that you're getting. But if you're not working as much and your productivity level is decreasing, then we will decrease that $70,000 to $23,000, as mentioned by the mayor. Moreover, the management style. He needs to change the management style. He needs to be more democratic and consultative. Before he takes a decision, he needs to consider every stakeholder. When I'm doing this, how will this impact those stakeholders? And for the HRM, we plan in the short term to outsource it, that is from 2015 to 2016 to outsource it, because we don't have the expertise right now. But afterwards, to 2018, we will create our own HRM department.
Thank you. So basically, when we recommended is to fund this, put it in a slide, please. To fund this, as Nusrat has just mentioned, on 2015, we recommend to take a loan. To take a loan for increasing the growth of the company, and as well as to compensate for the salary raise that we put into the company. But any plan that we take, any strategy that we take carries risk. And risk need to be managed, and risk needs to have a backup plan that in case what we are proposing it does not work, we can have a plan that is going to keep on working. Sorry for that. Basically what we are planning is for 2015 to 2016, in case there is a certain problem, they can meet to go for a joint venture with another company. One of its competitor merging with the competitor to ensure that they can survive in the market. In case the loan system works and they are able to issue their shares in the market, but the share values deteriorate, once again the solution is they can go ahead and join with the company. So to say more about it, let's look at what we can sum up from this case study. So from summing up this case study, we have found out that there are factors that affected the internal and the external of the company. The internal factor that affected was the employees. The employees were not satisfied, because as a manager, I cannot watch another employee receive a salary that is only $5,000 less than me. As a manager, I find it inadequate that the company is giving a person that is doing a job not really up to the level and receiving this salary. In terms of his management style, what we talk about is he started as an autocratic. He put his decision in front. He said, okay, we will go ahead and do it this way. At the end, what happened is his brother left his company and told him to buy the 30% of the company back because he didn't like the decision he took. So, and then at the end, to compensate for what he did, he moved on and tried a laissez-faire and trying to compensate for what he decided to do. And thirdly, what we look in the internal is the stakeholders, as they are going to lose in terms of profit they are going to make. And in the external, we looked at the customers and the competitors. The customers are the great losers. If the customers are not satisfied with the level of service that you are providing them, they would obviously go to your competitors. As for the competitors, what basically is happening is, by putting great pressure on the competitors, you're getting an advantage over it, yes, but at the same time, you're losing allies that can be used for further business proposal. In this term, what can happen is, if in the future, due to this pay rise, you're not able to sustain in the market, the competitors can view you as someone they can merge together with. But if you try to crush your competitors ahead so fast, it may happen in the future that they will be reluctant to come towards you and leave you to liquidation and finally acquire your company, and in the end you become the loser. So finally, using all this issue, we found that there were these two recommendations we came up with, is restructuring putting in place an human resource stated in the company, and basically looking for the future so that they can be profitable. And as we propose at the end, a backup plan in case this solution does not work. Well, I thank you for your attention, and we are now open up to questions. Thank you.
It seems that you guys are not quite buying in the pay rise across the board. Am I right to arrive at this conclusion? So you just don't agree this is going to work and this is autocratic and you don't need to do any survey on your staff, on the customer to see whether there are really some benefits out of this?
I didn't get your question exactly. Sorry. I
So,
didn't.
so you are saying this pay rise is no good, it's not going to work.
No, it's going to work, but the fact that he did it in such a way that was like immediate, it didn't have the effect. It has a sort of effect that was not really wanted. So if he did it in a more gradual way, that is, if instead of having an immediate rise up to $70 and having it like gradually being 35, like, you know, in for 1 year you're going to have it to be 50, and then going it on the long run, then to reach the 70 in let's say 2 years to 3 years, it would have a less impact on the senior management, and it would have provided him time to deal with those problems that arise with the senior management, or the problem that arise when the satisfaction of the employee was not just based on the money. Yeah.
So if you are empowered to make the call for the CEO, will you now say, why not we just revisit the whole program, maybe we just go back to the traditional pay system, i.e. no across the board minimum wage for the staff?
Well, in fact, there is a minimum wage system in place in Seattle, as announced by the mayor, but it was in a gradual way. First of in 2015, the minimum wage was supposed to be, I think, about 23. No, it was projected to be $30 or $31,000 per year in 2017. As such, we have gone back and seen that the minimum wage in 2015 would be around $23,000. And comparing with the industry in Seattle in general, Mr. Dan gave a minimum wage of $70,000. So there is a great spread between these two, and it may not be feasible because he did this at first in order to be able to change the mindset of other entrepreneurs, in order so that they are able to adopt the same system as him. But other entrepreneurs might not be willing to do this because the city of Seattle is offering a minimum wage of $23,000. But why should he offer a minimum wage of $70,000? So that was.
So your proposal is to actually take this floor away, right, and
No,
revert back
no,
to
no, no. Actually, if I don't think we could step back on this because it's a decision already made, and if we do go back, it will arise like a kind of war, if you want to put it like this, inside the company itself.
Well, I think you said that people would retain the 70,000 provided they maintained levels of productivity, and if they fell below that, then they would go down to the 23,000. I think that's what you said.
Exactly. That is, we are maintaining that $70,000 for that employee. But what we want to say is that if he already took that decision, you are in a business, you already did that. Something that we could do is that when we do this system, we involve the employees very much in it. We take their consideration, we take their views, so they promote it as much as the entrepreneur is doing it.
Do you think many of your employees will take the view that if they're not performing up to target, that by all means you can reduce my salary by 2/3 or whatever down to 23,000?
Covered by taking it from your salary. This is in a cost that we are going to incur, yes, but we're not going to give it directly to the employee. In this way, we can sustain the long run, we expect to.
Just another question, just moving on a bit, but Vincent made a point that you didn't feel that they were totally on board with their proposal, and if I could just explore, you made quite a thing of your backup plan, and as I understand it, you're going to try and do this human resource review and see how that goes, but in parallel with that, and just in case that doesn't go too well, you're also potentially going to look to merge with a competitor and basically take what your existing business, which seems to be doing all right apart from the few personnel issues and remuneration issues amongst senior management, but the underlying business seems okay, and you're going to try and potentially merge that with a competitor and give up control of your business to a certain extent, and presumably also blow up your management remuneration plan at the same time. Am I right in with my understanding?
In fact, in the case study, Price applying to go into a joint venture with another company. When we talk about merging, we want to say it's joint venture, and as we all know that the joint venture, we don't give the shares. It's you come up for a project or for some period of time, and then you may separate later if the project is finally completed. So it's not exactly the merging.
Right. Well, you've got a perfectly good business at the moment, hopefully earning some good money. The issue is purely with your remuneration for your senior managers, really. So why do we want to? Are we going to hive down the business into the joint venture vehicle and then operate it jointly with our competitor? Or what is it we're going to put into this joint venture?
What we basically wanted to portray is we tried to show a realistic business scenario. Because if we look at the positive side, yes, our business is flourishing, but this is not the ideal world. Anything can happen in the future. We can lose control, and here where the media is playing in our favor, and we are receiving all the acclaims for providing the customers with all these, the employees with all these facilities, and this is helping our company to draw attention. In the future, this can backfire against us. And if we don't plan for something at this point, we may be loser in the end, because we started the company as we started something that we wanted to raise the morale of everyone, to show that the employees are important and need to balance the cost of living and the salary also of the employees. So we have taken in a certain way to view what can happen in the bad way and not necessarily in the good way. If everything goes according to plan, it is good, stick to the plan, the company will flourish. But it is also necessary to look at the bad side of any business, because if what happens if we don't look at what is going to cause the downfall of our company, when the situation arises, most probably will not be able to cope with the situation. So it's the best way to have at least a backup plan to look ahead and make sure that you can come up with something when the situation just arises.
Are we good? I think.
Thanks
for that.
Thank you.